the purpose at the bush. I'm sure all of us at this point are familiar with the book written by Rick Warren some years ago, The Purpose-Driven Life. Best-selling book which tried to help the body of Christ understand the purpose for which we were created. Amen. And he said in that book there were five things that we should know about the purpose in our life. He said that we were planned for God's pleasure, that we were made to worship God. And if we didn't read any further in that book, we could have stopped right there. For the whole duty of man is to give God glory and to worship him. He said we were formed for his family. We were created to become like Christ, that we were shaped to serve God, and that we were made for a mission, both shared and for a mission that is uniquely ours. And I think it is that last point that has bedeviled many of us for many a year. We have asked the question in our lives, what is my purpose in life? We know that God has a purpose. We know that God has a plan for our life. And we just have trouble figuring it out. It seems like we're just bumping our way through life. Just drifting. So sometimes peaceably and sometimes in a storm. But at no time with a clear compass and a sense of when, how, and why God has created us. God, I know you got a plan for my life, but what is it? But when I look at the life of Moses, the great liberator, I see God saying to us, if I tell you the plan before time, I'll blow your mind. I'll mess you up. I'll bust you out. If I let you see the whole picture, you'll probably have a heart attack and just fall over dead. Because see, in this present state of mind, while you still got spiritual milk on your mouth, while you're still sucking at the pap, you're not able to comprehend the greatness that I have destined for your life. So in other words, right now you can't handle the big picture. I've got to prepare you. I've got to take you through something. You have to come to know that your life plan is not my plan. That your dreams are not my dreams, because your ways are not my ways. And when it comes to fulfilling the mission I have for you, you got to experience something that will help you to know that I am God. And you can do nothing without me. But with me, all things are possible. God knows that he has to prepare us to hear and to accept his call. He's got to move us progressively to a holy ground experience. He's got to prepare us for an encounter at the bush. All right, preacher, I hear you. But look at me. I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm 70, some of us, I'm 80 years old. My time is short. My best years are behind me. Yeah. And I still don't know what my specific calling is. Well, don't worry about it. Look at Moses. When we find Moses in this text, standing on holy ground before a burning bush, he is already 80 years old. And I believe before he arrived at this place in life, he too was convinced that the life he was living was all that he had. He did not realize that God had to take him through something and prepare him before he could commission him for his unique purpose. Remember, this is the man who was born of a Hebrew slave during a time when it had been decreed that all Hebrew boys should be killed. The midwives were told that when they delivered a male Hebrew child, to kill the child. And when they would not do what Pharaoh said, and Pharaoh sent his army to kill all of the Hebrew boys 2 years old and younger. This was decreed because the nation of Israel was receiving the promise that God had given Abraham to multiply his seed like none other. And so Pharaoh in Egypt felt threatened. And when I think about this, I can't help but think about the modern day pharaohs who have felt threatened by black men in America. Yeah? By withholding opportunity, by withholding education, by sending drugs into our communities. They'll try to kill us off because they know the greatness that God has purposed in our lives. Got us competing for crumbs on the street and killing one another for a crack. And for those that survive the street, they're locking them up in a prison system, hoarding them like animals, making them work for slave wages. The Hebrew boys were slated to be slaughtered. But God had his hand on Moses. And God had his hands on me and you. So somebody ought to be glad that God had his hand on us. I don't know about you, but I'm glad. Because they told me in high school I was the most likely to be a pothead. I was the most likely to be just drugged out. But God had his hand on me. There was a purpose yet in my life that I did not know. God had his hand on Moses. So he had his mama hide him in the bulrushes until Pharaoh's daughter found him. Raised him as her very own. Had him schooled in science and math and government and prepared him to live a good life. For 40 years he lived in the house of Pharaoh. He lived his life until something got in his spirit when he saw the taskmaster whipping up on one of his kinsmen. Something took hold of him. He couldn't stand it anymore. Killed the taskmaster and then found himself running for his life. And while in exile for the next 40 years, he found himself leading a much different life. He got married, found a wife, fathered a child, lived as a sheep herder for his father Jethro. He didn't realize that caring for this man's sheep for 40 years in the desert of Midian was preparing him for a 40-year sojourn with God's sheep, the nation of Israel. It was while he was attending the sheep at age 80 when God decided now was the time. Now he was properly prepared for his unique mission. God was ready now to make clear the purpose in his life. The text says that when he had led the flock to the backside of the desert, he came to the mountain of God. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked and he beheld the bush burned with fire, but was not consumed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt.